think we're live. Pumpkin, give me a little hello.
Hello, hello, hello.
We're good. Okay. Guys, welcome. Episode 5 on After the Storm. Tonight's a little bit different. It's 1v1, man on man. Sweaty, hurdy, bodies slapping together special. With the one, the only Pumpkin, right? The man who has legally killed more people on the server than anybody else.
Well, technically, it's assists. Move it into the assist column. I'll take it all day long.
Okay, assist. But yeah, Pumpkin, welcome. Appreciate your time.
No, thanks for having me.
Yeah. We'll just start off simple, like we do everybody else. Like, give us a little bit about yourself, how you got into RP in general, and what path brought you to Gold Rush.
Well, my RP started out probably 22, so about 3 years ago. And I started out on No Pixel Green Public.
Yeah. The good old days.
The good old days, and I had a potato of a setup, so I could. I was running around slow pockets the whole
Yeah.
kit and caboodle, but I could function. And it gave me a real good base into RP. I'd done a lot of Civ stuff. And she started working out in Maldini's.
Yeah.
And then moved into the oil business on the public server and got real rich real quick.
Yeah.
And that was how I met yourself and a few of the other guys. And yeah, just went from there really. That was a lot more of a self-insert for me.
GTA was, yeah.
Yeah, because it was easy. You didn't have to think so much. You could just get in and just talk to people, just spitball. You didn't have to worry about era, time, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
You could talk about modern day events, so it was less to think about. But yeah, I was on there for. So I think I joined a few months into 3.0 and went through for the majority of it. I took about a 4 or 5 month break. Came back right at the end. Yeah, pure Civ all the way through that, up until the last couple of weeks of the server being up before the change to 4.0. So just fucked about with a few friends on there and done a bit of crime stuff as well. Yeah, that was fun. And then, yeah, I took a bit of a break at the start of Public 4.0 for No Pixel and wanted something different. Ended up getting a better rig and it was able to handle Red M. So saw you playing on Gold Rush and yeah, sort of reached out to you. We had a little chat before I joined up.
True.
And yeah, the rest of they say is history.
Now, so you started on GTA on No Pixel Public, but did you just decide to like do it? Just like I want to try this, or did you just like were you like myself, where you like watched RP way before even wanting to try it, or like what got you like, fuck it, I'm gonna make a character?
A little bit of everything, really. I had seen it before. I was interested in that sort of thing. I mean, my very first introduction was Minder on DayZ. And we're going back years and years now.
Yeah.
He'd done a little RP series that he'd done, and that's what sort of first piqued my interest to RP in general. Yeah, the GTA stuff was, I had a potato over a rig, so I was limited on what games I could play at the time, and GTA was one of them. Before that, I was a console player.
Oh dear, Pumpkin! Oh no,
Xbox nerd. But yeah, got on the PC and never looked back.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what sort of introduced me to it, and obviously getting on the public server back then, it was a sitting queue for however long.
I can remember a little bit of context for people. So Sylvester, who plays Pumpkin, he and I have known each other since it's got to be 4 years now, 5 years now with Green, and you know
Yeah, maybe not even that long to say. I think it's about 3.
2002, well 2002, 2003, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Or 23, 22, 23, yeah.
22, 23, yeah.
So he Pumpkin was a very, very rich man in his character back then, and No Pixel had all the flashy cars, right? So we've known each other a long time.
What was it? 101 BMW M3.
Yeah, yeah, that fucking weird
And
thing.
then the Hustler.
The Hustler, that's what it was. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah,
it was a very interesting car.
and back then, if you didn't pay for Prio, you could. So the storms back then were what, 8 hours, 9 hours,
Yeah, every 8.
and you could be for like some of them in queue for 7+ hours. Like it was in the trenches sort of time back then for RP, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean that was it. It was at its peak on
Yeah,
Twitch, social media, YouTube. That was when it was really, really, really in its heyday.
yeah.
Sort of leveled out a bit since then. But yeah, that was
Well,
that was when the queues were mad.
yeah,
I think.
oh, yeah, they were insane. Well, that's a good thing. Did 4.0 No Pixel Public kill GTA for you? And then you thought, I still want RP, but I want something different, and then RDR came along.
Yeah. Just because it was the start of a new server, everything was fresh, and everybody had a grind mentality. Everybody, especially on public server like that,
Yeah,
with big name, everybody was on grind, 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 and if you weren't in that same
yeah, same mindset.
same mindset, yeah, you were getting left behind, and the RP wasn't it wasn't great,
Yeah, because I think
It,
I think people who have never done GTA RP, like the ones who have mainly been like Gold Rush when it's been public, 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, like some of the diabolical shit that the public side of Gold Rush has had was like that's like daily mediocre stuff on GTA, right? Because you remember
yeah,
some of the shit that we saw on No Pixel, right, was unbelievable, right?
yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. You come across a few gems.
Yeah,
There are a few real good ones and some okay ones, but yeah, a lot of your interactions were just strange.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, I mean, I sort of opened myself up to that from day dot by working in a food service with it because
yeah.
everybody needed food.
Everyone
You
needed
were
food.
open,
Yeah.
yeah. So you met everybody. It was very interesting.
All right. So 4.0 No Pixel Public just kills it for you. I think it did for a lot of people, right? 3.0 was the prime, right? Um, and then the appeal of RDR. Did you worry about coming over like the time period, the lingo? You know.
Yeah, I think for me, not having studied or looked about the history in America at that time, I've done history in Victorian English and
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff, but I hadn't really looked into the American side of stuff. So there was a hesitation. What sort of character do you play? How do you set it up? How does the server play? Where would best suit me, and what characteristics and how I would want to play my character?
Yeah.
Um,
And this was the first time that you put thought into a character because you said that like your Sylvester character on
yeah,
GTA was just like that's you just playing.
yeah. Just that was me waking up, going in, and seeing where the wind took me.
Yeah.
Um, Going into Gold Rush, it was thought through,
Yeah.
of how at least I wanted to start out my character and how I wanted to go. There was still a lot for me to find out.
Hmm.
Like I say, with regards to mechanics, how to do things, mining, farming, um, riding a horse.
Yeah.
um, there was a lot of new stuff for me to learn, so I had to take it slowly. Um, but getting into where we ended up today, I'd never thought when I started in Gold Rush I'd end up doing anything remotely compared to what I've ended up doing. To be
Yeah.
honest,
True. True. So going back to like you didn't mechanic stuff there. The one thing that shocked me, right? GTA, GTA 5, you could be in the south side, get into your car, blast fucking the highway, and be in Polito in like 2 minutes, three maybe, right?
yeah,
It like apart from like the visuals of RDR2, it was the scale, right? Oh, such and such is happening in Tumbleweed. Well, we're in fucking Coulter. Well, that's a 20-minute ride. It's like that. That's a thing that like it took me a little bit because I played a little bit in 2.0, but like the scale, right, of the RDR map and like the pace, the slowness and the pace, just like took a little bit to get used to for me personally, but loved it. You know?
yeah. I know. I think for me, because of the way that I was in GTA and with the oiling and stuff like that, I could take things at my own pace.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I had friends in lots of different gangs, but I, I was still the same me. I was friendly to everybody, and because I served food, and yeah,
yeah,
and I got into business with different people, so I could literally go at my own pace with regards to that. But you get caught up in the rushing around; it's inevitable. Um, like you say, with RDR, it's totally different with regards to pacing.
yeah,
Like you say, it's a lot slower. It's a lot more thought out. Like you say, you have to plan for your trip across the Commonwealth because it
yeah.
takes you time. You have to
Have
plan
I
for
got
it back.
food? Have I got water? Well,
Yeah,
nowadays, does my fucking horse have enough like shoes left in it to get from A to B?
yeah, and that it's good. It makes people think. It makes people really consider actions and how they go about things. And if they don't, they'll find out real quick, and then they'll certainly remember it for the future.
Yeah. I've always said like I think even you know even if like you get sent a telegram, you could be fucking nowhere near where you need to be to read the telegram. You gotta go read the telegram, react to the telegram. Even like a quick response is still like 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes. It's just
Yeah, and again, that relates directly back to the GTA stuff. GTA, it was you pick up your phone,
yeah,
you call this person. If they pick up, they're there. If they don't, they'll either phone you back in a minute or you send them a message and they'll get back to you whenever.
yeah,
Um, Obviously, with communications and RDR, telegrams, and you might have to wait. Like you say, they might not be able to get to a telegram station. They might be out in the sticks, and so it might take a bit more time to organise a simple conversation. And if people's stars don't align for whatever reason, that stretches it out even further.
yeah,
You don't get the instant gratification that you get on GTA, but you get a more sustained gratification
yeah.
because of the long stretched out process. Really,
I don't miss the phone and or like even like my character doesn't read or write, right? I don't do telegrams, and I don't miss that at all. I don't miss the
yeah,
phone. I don't miss you wake up to like read your messages or anything like that. There, it's just you either hear it there and then from the horse's mouth, or second hand, third. It could be a day down the line. It could be a week. It could be. I like that. I like that pacing.
yeah, it's good as well because things like that over the course of a couple of days can develop, and then there's
Yeah.
Chinese whispers that get added to it,
Well, this
and
is it. Yeah.
yeah, it certainly puts a much more interesting dynamic on it for sure.
Yeah. So talk to us about Pumpkin. Whenever you were starting Pumpkin, you just thought, this is what I want to do. I'm gonna have he's gonna be civilian. Like, what was your thought process when you were making Pumpkin in 3.0?
So the initial plan was to start as a civilian.
Mm-hmm.
My character wouldn't know any of the criminal stuff anyway.
Yeah,
So farming, mining, backstory is pretty handy with physical labour stuff. So that sort of side of things, it was easy to get a nice start into that. Intellectual, could read, had an upbringing with that sort of thing. So again, that sort of set the tone for how I would be.
yeah,
And again, the transition from playing a sort of straight civilian to coming over and starting that way it was the easier way of going about it. Now, I was very open to what direction my character would go at that point. I had no fixed destination.
yeah,
Like I said, I needed to find out how where I was needed in the server, or where I'd fit in, so to speak.
yeah.
And yeah, I started out literally mining, panning for gold.
Because well, that's perfect because that's how you first ran into us, right? Down at Doyle's.
Yeah, and that was literally it. I was running around looking to, as a lot of new people do, you know. I mean, especially back in 3.0, you woke up with a gold pan in your pocket and went and done a bit of gold panning.
Yeah.
So I woke up actually in Armadillo.
Oh my god. Right.
I was around there. There was literally nobody when I came into county, so I ended up buying a mangy out of the stable.
Oh no,
And
fuck me, Pumpkin.
yeah, made my way over to Strawberry. Met a lovely Mexican fellow who showed me how to do gold panning,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, that was where that started. And funnily enough, that's where the name Pumpkin comes from as well, because I had said to this fella, "Oh yeah, name's Sylvester." I'd always introduce myself as that in roleplay, and yeah, and he was like, "Who?" He was like, "What?"
Yeah.
It's not the easiest name to pronounce. It's not an easy one to remember. It's quite a forgetful name, to be honest. So at that point, I decided to make it a nickname that would be easy to remember. It would be straight, simple, and people would relate it to my character.
Yeah.
Like I say, 'cause it's a lot more memorable.
I don't think for the longest time, right, that I knew the Pumpkin's name was Sylvester, but I had no idea about the second name for the longest fucking time.
Probably 90 to 95% of people may not even know
No, I
the real
think
name anyway.
if somebody was talking about Sylvester, and even right now, I wouldn't. It would take me a while to. Oh, you mean Pumpkin? I don't think anybody
Yeah,
I've ever heard like call you like by maybe the judge or something like that. There in character calls you by your real name, but
there are a few. There are a few.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's literally where it came from. And there was a little bit of an undertone to that as well.
So a
'Cause
Mexican gave you your name.
he didn't give it to me, but that was the thought that in my head,
Yeah.
I need to make something that's going to be a little bit more memorable for everybody. And yeah, I went down, done some gold panning with him, and I just looked at how I had made my character, and I was like, well, he's round, he's fat, he's ginger, he looks like a little pumpkin.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where that one came out of. And yeah, then I was literally going from town to town looking for people to sell me gold nuggets too, and bumped into a Cooper down at Doyle's.
Down at Doyle's, yeah. So you get your foothold into 3.0. Pumpkin Pumpkin's not a criminal, right? But he is aware of things that happen.
Yeah, I mean, I started off, as I say, doing the mining, and I was doing farming with Mia and Letty down at Saint Denis, And my mining trip was St. Denis. I'll go up to Annesburg. Annesburg, I'll go down to Rhodes. Rhodes, I'll go to Strawberry. Sell all my bits at Strawberry, do a bit of gold panning at Strawberry, then come back to St. Denis, and then stop off, do a bit of farming, have a bit of a social, and then rinse and repeat, and just keep on doing that. And I was open to things. People would talk, I would hear them, I was observant, I never judged. I didn't get involved in it, but I was never pushed into, oh, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? But I'm sure if I'd asked or shown a bit more interest, then I could have done. But
If Pumpkin was invited to do something back in 3.0, would he have, or would you have tried to, keep him like, I don't, I know about this, or I don't mind about this, but I don't want, would Pumpkin
I think
walked a different path back in
at,
3.0?
at that point, where it was so early, that hadn't even spoke about lawyering and stuff, hadn't really moved into Strawberry at that point. I think if things had, could have very well turned out differently and literally on a coin flip as well. If it was something a bit too much or over the board, it wouldn't have made sense for my character to do it.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't. If it was, oh, do you want to try selling a bit of that? Might well have done it. I can't say, oh yeah, I definitely would have done, because that wasn't the path I took, and that point was never asked.
I just in my mind right now, there's an alternative universe where like Pumpkin's like getting into 6v6 shootouts of law, blasting marshals, torturing people. It's.
I mean, look, paths can, take very interesting turns, and as I say, back then there wasn't a designated direction for me to go. So it could very well have gone that way. But my story had other ways that went in another direction.
Yeah. So Goldpan farming, and then Pumpkin. You went on the ranching, right, in 3.0, or did you?
No, I moved over to Strawberry.
Yeah, and now remind me, didn't you join a gang then, or a group, a family, the purple ones?
Yeah. I was with them over there for a bit.
What was their name again?
I'll be honest, I can't remember. But yeah, I was over there with them, and the reason I got into them, because in Strawberry I started doing a lot of farming with a character called Big John.
Big John, yeah.
Who the majority of people would actually know as Dr. Alfred.
Big John, for the longest time, didn't know he was from. He's remind me again. He's from England, but he has a crazy American accent.
Yes.
Like I thought he was American I thought he's American.
But no, yeah, he was great, and me and him spent a hell of a lot of time farming. With Eris as well, and Luna, and yeah, we was over at Little Creek farming for hours and hours and hours upon end. But we was actually making ranch feed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we done that for a hell of a time. And then yeah, that kind of fell apart, and that's when I actually ended up getting turned towards lawyering, to be honest.
Well, do we want to say? Do we say why? Because it's still, I guess, meta, right? Why Pumpkin even looked at law? Do we want to say that or no? I think we can say that now, right?
Yeah, I mean that was it. I mean, at that point, when I was in Strawberry, let's say the farming company stopped happening, and law WSO asked me to join up with them, and there was a character Raylan, and we had a good conversation. I was like, look, I can't shoot for shit. I'm not very good at riding. He was telling me, it's good talking and good with my voice, and that's your first weapon as a lawman. I was like, yeah, I'm not really too keen on getting shot at though. So
yeah.
but at that point, it made me think, and
And then there was the conversation in Doyle's balcony, at the back of Doyle's balcony with Carter and Charlie. Eh?
yeah, yeah, there was, and it was. How handy would it be to have a lawyer?
It was, yeah, yeah. So for those who don't know, back in 3.0, Pumpkin just go panning, farming, fishing, shoveling shit, and then I think you mentioned about Law coming to you, the Wesso coming to you, and being like join them, and if I remember correctly, back then like having a pocket lawyer made sense for like a crime organization or crime family, whatever way you want to look at it.
Oh, 100%.
And then
100%.
it was the back of Doyle's, and it's like Pumpkin. You read, you're well educated. Have you ever thought about becoming a lawyer? Because from our angle, it was Pumpkin, someone that we trust and everyone likes. He becomes a lawyer, and maybe information gets fed our way, and then also, we get looked after, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing. It was more a case of having somebody in that position
Yeah,
that you would never have had in that position otherwise. Um, and even if it was just a case of representing you for criminal cases, trying to get cases thrown out,
yeah.
Then it's better that you've got somebody that and that you can trust to do it.
And that was kept
than...
extremely hush hush because it was like
yeah.
myself, Charlie, and Ian's because he was number 2 for the Royals, right? Like that was that was hush hush.
That was the only ones that knew, and even then, it was just an agreement that I was going to go through, get me training. You need a lawyer at that point. You've got yourself a lawyer.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, once I'd become a defence attorney, Charlie needed getting off the hook for an accomplice to murder charge.
Yeah. Good time. Good times.
Yeah, that was good timing for him as well. That was. That was a really interesting case. Like, do you want to talk about a couple of cases?
Sure. I was going to get into that. I was going to get into that down the line there. Just
Charlie's is a pretty good one, to be fair.
Well, let's do this then. Let's talk about, because being a lawyer is like there's criminals, there's law, there's doctors, there's natives, but lawyer is a civ, but quite a specific civ, right?
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, what is like Carter decides, fuck it, I'm gonna learn to read a book. What's the process in character for becoming a lawyer, and then what sort of like behind the scenes needs to happen whenever these people come towards you?
So the process would be usually I'd have a flyer out. They would get hold of me, have an interview. We'd literally have a conversation. As long as their character has clean criminal history, presents themselves well, and we can go through the process that they understand what their sort of responsibilities are. Then we'll get them on board, and then it's a lot of reading for them, whether it's penal code, constitution, whether it's our handbook, which is our version of the SOPs.
Yeah.
And going from there, I mean, they would be paralegal for, we like to say a minimum of 2 weeks, but that can vary depending on the individual.
Yeah, and probably like server load as well, right, with whatever is going on.
Yeah. I mean, to a degree, but I wouldn't, I never rush anybody. I mean, somebody can be a paralegal for a month if they want. If they're active and it makes sense for their character, and they're, I'm not sure, and this, that, and the other, and I just want to learn more. If it makes sense for their character, I'm not going to push that. And that's the thing that I've learned being the DA. I mean, we've spoken about the lawyer and how that started, but as that sort of progressed and my character's progressed, it's become less about me.
Yeah.
Um, I'm involved, or I see a lot of stories, but I see a lot of them from the outside, or on the edges, so to speak. So I see them, but I'm not necessarily involved in them. And then something might happen, a certain case might hit its pinnacle, and then all of a sudden I will be involved. So it's interesting. I'll play more of a support character in people's stories, and I'm a okay with that because I like to see how they unfold. There are a lot of people who are better suited to scenes and um, quote unquote taking the limelight.
Yeah.
Um, and I know my role. I'm good with that. But when I need to step up, when I need to be there and do my thing, um, I'll do what I've got to do.
Well, this is the thing you say there about being a support character, right? But you're like, apart from a judge, right? Which judges are usually admins, correct?
Usually,
Yeah. You are.
Tate
Yeah.
Tate wasn't. Tate was amazing, by the way.
Yeah.
Like
Well, yeah.
absolutely amazing. And yeah, she had that role for a long while.
But
Well deserved.
as a support character, you're from everybody else's point of view. You're like the main. Like you hear about marshals and Virgil and Delilah and Nala and all like that there, but apart from the judge, Pumpkin's top of the food chain, right?
In the
It,
judicial
yeah,
system, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
um, yeah. It was judges, then the DA, and then it trickles down. Um, but yeah, I mean, it obviously comes with a certain amount of responsibility and power, um, but it's how you use it.
Yeah.
It's how you present yourself. I could quite easily play a character and be super harsh and yep, I'm going to kill
Well, there has,
everybody and everybody's
yeah,
guilty
yeah. Well, there has
and
been DAs like that. I think if I can make you remember, whenever you were Charlie's lawyer, Charlie and the DA having a full blown argument at the telegram office in St. D in the middle of the street.
with Eddie. Eddie's great, but that's the difference.
But that's the like. Here's the thing: if Pumpkin ever bows out, the next DA could be the biggest ball buster ever, right?
Completely, and I hope that whoever it is, brings their own character to it because obviously
Yeah.
everybody's got their own little bit of spice to add to it. The one thing I've made very apparent with Pumpkin is I'll treat everybody the same, and I'll talk to everybody the same, and whether that's somebody who's been eating people and ended up in Siska, somebody who's gone out, kidnapped, tortured, and killed somebody, I'll talk to them exactly the same way that I would do with a deputy, a doctor, a marshal.
Pumpkin's a facts and figures man.
Yeah, and again, I mean that's another thing that I say, and people will probably have heard me say this in the server. And that's I care about facts, not feelings.
Yeah.
Um, and that as the DA, I have to be objective when I read things and look at things with an open mind. And you have got a lot of feelings coming at you from different parties with the majority of cases because everybody's got their opinion and everybody
True.
wants to tell their story. And you've got to read between the lines a lot of the time and make the right decision based off of the circumstances. And inevitably, one side's not going to be happy. But that's because
That's life. Yeah.
that's life, and that's the side of RP when you've got crims and law who are destined to fight against each other till the end of time. and the civ sat in the middle, if somebody gets a sentence, the crims might not be happy, but the law will be. Or if they don't get a just sentence or something that's as severe as what the law wanted, the law might not be happy, and the crims will be. Um, but it's a fine balancing act.
Well,
And
it's
you've got
it's
to,
the ultimate balancing act these days, no?
yeah, and you've got to keep it. You've got to keep it fair on each individual case, because not every story is the same.
So back to lawyers. Now we'll include 3.0 because I think I'm right in saying that 4.0 there's lack of a lack of lawyers in 4.0 currently.
Yes, there is. If anybody wants to be a lawyer, find out in character.
Yeah. So with law, you sometimes find that people who play law, a lot of them can be actually like law enforcement IRL. Is people who play lawyers, do you find the majority of them are just like people giving it a go, or have you found out that people have like a legal background and like this is their bread and butter? Um,
I think you have a mix. I think you sometimes get people who have had experience in that sort of field, or actively work in that field, and then you get people like myself who just give it a whirl for shits and giggles, and it's not. Um, as long as you are well spoken and you can do, or you are prepared to do some, let's say high pressured RP, because if you got to go and stand in the courtroom in front of a judge
yeah,
and have potentially somebody else's character's life in your hands.
yeah, it's extremely conversational RP.
Yes, yeah, and it can be confrontational as well, because it's one of those environments where stress and pressure can get high, and
Mm.
people can get argumentative trying to make their point, or people can act out, or you might have a shootout outside with somebody trying to do it, or somebody trying to burn down the town. Um, so ultimately, those moments can be a lot more intense than, let's say, a 6-on-6 shootout over a still.
Yeah. With lawyering, I would say your RP also can be, would lonely be the right word, where they've got the paperwork to do. They've got, it's not,
Yeah,
it's
no,
not like myself. Right, okay, I'm gonna go and rob like 5 graves, and then I'm gonna go and intimidate
yeah,
this bounty hunter. They're very. I don't want to say they're almost RPing a 9 to 5 in a way, right?
yeah, no, you're not wrong at all. Um, the thing is, you get out what you put into it. If you make the effort to put your name out there, advertise, go around and see clients and speak to people and build relationships, you're going to get so much more out of it with regards to RP. You'll meet a lot of different people, because when you think about it, at some point, everybody will probably need a lawyer.
Yeah, every criminal at some point is going to end up in JD in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, potentially. But even if it's a name change or a marriage, or if you're known, you're going to reap the rewards of that. When I was on the defence side of things, I made it a point. I would travel to everybody and I would speak to people. Again, it's a bit like it is now, where there was a lack of defence attorneys at the time.
Why do you sorry to cut you off? Why do you think that is? Like, obviously, at the start of 4.0, it's a brand new server. You know, there's like continuation of storylines, but all the paperwork's gone. So there's not the cases that law have brought up with the arrests. But why do you think? Why do you think there is usually a lack of defense lawyers? What's the one thing that either stops them? from
I,
continuing, or
I don't think it's any one thing in particular. I think it's a combination of, for the start of 4.0 especially, everybody was struggling for money, and paying services for a lawyer isn't top of everybody's list.
yeah,
As the economy's settled down and stabilised, and as more criminal activity is happening, as more as the servers balancing out, the need for defence attorneys and paperwork to get done will be a lot more increased. Um, I think holding on to lawyers has always been a struggle ever since I've been a lawyer.
yeah.
There's only really been a couple that have stuck through it for a prolonged period of time.
R.I.P. Elizabeth, right?
Oh yeah, no, she was a good one. And shout out to Tyler Grayson as well. He's a real one. He stuck through a hell of a lot, and yeah, he was always there. Still waiting for him to come back in 4.0. As a lawyer, I've seen him in character, but we'll see. See where his story takes him. I have heard a couple of things in character about some other ventures for it, but I ain't going to spoil it for anybody.
Yeah. So what do you think then would be your sort of like 2 or 3 reasons why they don't last? I guess is the best word.
I think it is. It's hard to get your name out there and get business run up. You have to be determined. For one, especially. Um, Secondly, the at that time, if you weren't getting the business, you weren't actually making a lot of money.
Yeah.
There is a government paycheck, but it wasn't a lot.
It's like $3 or $4, right?
It was 6 for lawyers.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, they were still making fees on top. But they've got to be able to drum up that business, and if they're not around and they can't do it, I mean, I've had lawyers that go and do farming on the side or mining on the side, and that's fine. But yeah, there's things that have changed for that as well, and I'm not going to give it away.
Yeah.
So,
No.
yeah,
No matter the beginning. Yeah.
But I mean, the whole thing that the DOJ have spoken about is making it more appealing, so that we can attract more people to the job role. And I think with that as well, with more courts and things happening on the DOJ side of things, the more you see and hear from the judge, whether it's judicial notices or whatever it may be,
Yeah.
the more people it will sort of attract to that side of things. Similar things sort of happening with mayors as well.
Yeah.
I think you'll see 1 or 2 come through, and then all of a sudden, big influx and lots of interest. So, all in good time, I think.
Because I think from a criminal point of view, right, lawyers are almost like they're like bounty hunters, right? In the sense that you need bounty hunters to make fines a thing, right? Without bounty hunters, fines mean nothing, right? You need defense lawyers because maybe you know Dickie Darnell didn't murder that guy and actually didn't do it, right? And if he doesn't fight that, you know what I mean? Like you need them to be the other side of like the fence. You know?
If you haven't got that there, you can get around it, but you'd be skipping a step, and it makes it less
RP.
It makes it less RP. It'll be everybody talks directly to the DO, talks directly to the judge, and has their own sort of conversation, and you have to make a decision from there.
Yeah.
Whereas doing it this way, having people, oh yeah, in the shit, got to find a lawyer, and having that depth of conversation and those layers of RP, rather than, oh yeah, got to go and see the judge.
Yeah. And then on the flip side of the fence, you've got, well, your department. You've got ADs or ADAs and yourself. What is what is so is ADA something that someone applies for and like I want to work for your department, or is it like the marshals where like you hand pick, or you go out and you be like, look, you're a good defense lawyer, do you want to come hang people for a living?
Yeah, it's it's down to the DA at the time. To be
So
perfectly
you
honest
basically
with you,
build your crew.
you can either handpick who you want and sort of prep them for it, or you have people apply. But again, it's a balancing act with that. There'd be no point in having me and an assistant district attorney and only having one defence attorney. It just completely throws the balance out.
Yeah. Because that's your version of crim versus law, right? You want the defense lawyers to fight the DA, and the DA to fight the defense lawyers.
Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it. Yeah, it's yeah, the balance will be forever in their favour. In an ideal world, I'd have 5 defence attorneys before I pick one out to be an ADA. Because it doesn't have to be one for one. In DA's office, we can handle, but we should be able to handle
There you go,
the
Chad.
paperwork from everybody.
The guys, there you go. You heard it here first. Pumpkin wants to 5v2 people. There you go. Easy.
I mean, hey.
The guy.
But yeah, you've got to have that balance. Otherwise, it just it throws everything out of shape. But yeah, it'd be pushing in the right direction and see where it goes. We got a new criminal judge now, so things will start picking up, I'm sure.
Is there anything that, and it's a bit meta, I guess, but not really. But is there anything that lawyers, whether it's DA or defense lawyers, is there anything that the general population of Gold Rush don't know that they can do or help with? Do you think there's something that's, what's the best way to describe this? Is there a function that they can provide that is never utilized because they're like, oh, you guys can do that? It's just not, known, or because one thing that comes to my mind is like civil cases, right?
Yeah. So they can do things like civil contracts. So whether it's a business contract, a contract that you need a client to sign, contracts between businesses and employees, that can all be done by defence attorneys. Those ones in particular, DA's office can't touch because they're civil, and if they ever come to fruition, it might be a case where the DA looks over and potentially mediates before it goes to a judge.
Because I don't think people know this as well, right? And I didn't know this until we had Delilah on podcast. There's a civil judge. There's a civil judge that does these with civil cases, correct?
Yes, yeah. So any disputes like that ended up going to the court, they would be in front of Delilah's character, judge character, and Delilah's amazing. She's helped me so much through my time as a DA. Yeah, and she signs off on all my paperwork, or tells me no, it's not good enough.
Does she tell you no quite often then, or?
I wouldn't be doing my job as the DA if I didn't get told no.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a case of if you don't ask for anything, you're not going to get it.
Well, it's just like anything in life, yeah.
Yeah, exactly that. And sometimes I might have a couple of stupid ideas, and it's if it's not going to go through, I get told it's not going to go through. whether that's a luring character or whether that's applying for a native tribe's selected land. So if it gets told no, it gets told no. You move on, and next time something else might get approved. Penal code changes and things like that. I've put suggestions forward, and some of them have gone through, some of them have needed to be adjusted, and some of them have been flat out denied.
Yeah.
But that's the whole process. I know that that's not directly Delilah. That's the whole staff team. With any changes to the penal code, there's got to be.
Yeah. Well, we'll dive into that because I'm going to ask you about that down the line. With a lawyer, right? We asked this with the law characters we've had on. For you, right? What makes a good defense lawyer? Like, if you had to pick certain traits, attributes.
Somebody with trust issues.
In the sense that
knowing that your clients 90% of the time are going to be lying to your face.
But isn't that the stupid thing? The criminals should, in character. But isn't that the stupid thing to do? Like, you're supposed to tell your defense lawyer, yes, I did, rip this person's face off. But
I did this, but this is what I told
you. Don't lie to your defense lawyer.
No. They could. I mean, ultimately, they can defend the truth, or they can defend if they know the truth. But if they are having to defend a lie, that just makes it infinitely harder. So you've got to be careful with that side of things. But going in there with a good defence lawyer, going in with a full amount of scepticism and a full amount of this is bullshit. What's the real gig?
Yeah.
Is a real good trait to have. Second one is picking your battles, knowing when you can fight something and knowing when it's not worth the time of day. Because unfortunately, there is a lot of that.
With this, I'm gonna skirt around this. Is this like, I've heard of lawyers getting like telegrams from hardened, known big bad boy criminals. I was beaten in the cells. I want press charge.
Yes.
Brother, it's 1899. You're lucky you still got teeth in your head.
Yeah, I mean, look,
Stop crying.
I've only ever, I've heard about this a lot of times, but I've only ever had one person really try and push it, and I was like, this just isn't going to go anywhere, because it ended up getting broken down. Was your client unruly in the cells? Yes. Was he saying this, that, and the other, and that he's going to come back and finish them all off? Yes, he did. Did they then each in turn give him a slap? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, like you say, it's 1899. You're lucky that's all you got. And then, oh, by the way, does it matter that he gave a fake name? Like,
yeah.
You're not going to bring that to me, because automatically, you know.
Yeah.
Even if there was something there, as soon as they've given that, like, no. But yeah, everybody else, all the other cases like that are usually dealt with by the lawyers. Unless there's a real good case behind it, then they just wouldn't. With the, like you say, I got slapped about in the cells. Not going to go.
Yeah, you're lucky you weren't taken out back and shot.
Yeah, exactly. Made to dig your own grave and then never seen again.
Yeah. What paperwork?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And again, that's just today's sensibilities. being reflected in the game.
Is,
And people
is that
people taking in the "I know my rights."
is
This
yeah
is on the
is
Constitution.
that an issue? Do you find that people need to drop the "I know my rights" type of thing, and you don't know your rights because you have no rights? Even lawyers,
Um,
right? Do they ever pull the more modern sort of ideals, or
the lawyers that I've interacted with have all been really good, and only a couple of times have slipped up with statutes that aren't potentially in that time, or modern day arguments.
yeah,
Um, Definitely not an ongoing thing or a purposeful thing, but it's slipped in a couple of times. Which, again, it's what are you talking about?
yeah.
um, but, could you define this, and what year was this statute brought in? That's that sort of thing. But people who aren't lawyers, who start the "I know my rights" and this, that, and the other, it it wouldn't have happened in that time. Yeah, people would have complained. Of course, they would have
Yeah.
done if they thought they were being unjustly done. That's real life. People complain. People make a fuss. With modern day legal arguments that put in, police brutality, like 1890. What was police brutality in 1899?
Yeah.
Didn't even exist. Um, it was,
Yeah.
that darn sheriff beat me up in the cells. Why? Because I opened my trap. Like, that's what happened.
The one that I always love, well, I've been beat for headbutting someone in cuffs, but anyway, um, it's the ones that like talk the shit and then
Deserved,
and
deserved.
and then like the law just be like, right, okay, well we'll go in and we'll beat the piss out of you then. It's just like, oh
Yeah, and then it's always, "Oh, let me out of this cuffs. I'll do all of you." Oh, it's like, you're totally missing the point.
yeah.
Totally missing the point.
All right. So what in your opinion makes a bad lawyer? I don't mean bad, but like a lawyer that you think that they're just not gonna make it. What's traits that you don't like to see?
I'm pretty open to people with regards to how they want to approach their characters. Um, so if somebody's got a bad trait that it could work out good for something. Let's say corrupt lawyer, literally somebody who feeds out information and this and that to everybody, and raking in thousands of money. They're going to have certain things about them, but it's that they'll be the traits that make them good at, or that make
Yeah.
that character good. So I think what people miss about that position is that you can have different traits and undertones of that character, and as long as you're not too far out there, you can do it. I mean, lawyers do fall into the government position where you can get done for corruption, and it's real easy to.
Is that even under
Yeah.
defense as well, like defense side of things, or?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But I mean, that would be the more serious side of things.
Has there ever been any lawyers executed or
Not
not yet?
not that I've experienced. I think there might have been a couple in 2.0, 1.0, but not that I know about, especially 3.0.
Yet.
There's yet, yeah. There's been a couple disbarred, but none that have gone to their maker.
Well, if you're gonna play corrupt, you play with the big boys,
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, if somebody were to do it and commit to it, I think it could be a really interesting storyline, depending on how they played it. Um, but yeah, it could be very very interesting. And as we touched on earlier, when I started being a lawyer, again that could have very much been on the table um, for my character, but I decided against it. Um, and for if I'm going to do it and defend people, I'll do it properly.
Yeah.
Um, and then obviously went over to the DA side of things, and that fit in really well with my character because although obviously I touched in with the Royals and Cooper, um,
You
it
never you
wasn't.
never stepped over the line.
No, no, never touched in the dark side of the water, so to speak. Um, so it was a real easy transition. There was nothing sort of weighing on my head or over my shoulders or something that I needed to look out for because there was nothing there. Um, so yeah, that transition over was real good. But the thought did cross my mind back then, and as I say, it could have gone
Oh,
a different way.
yeah. Interesting would be the word I'd use.
Yeah, but again, it's making those clear choices and then going for it for full on. Because if you are going to do that sort of thing where if you get caught, if you fuck up, that's the end of your character. You can't do things by half.
Yeah.
Um,
So then let's move on to like getting into court. Now, you know, somebody's killed somebody, somebody's tortured somebody. Um, it's going to court, right? Uh, is court sort of like a OCIC sort of conversation, or is it more that's the sentencing side of things? Like, give us like
it's
the journey through court and like getting up to the guilty, not guilty.
so with that, I know, as you can understand, there's a lot of different moving parts. There's obviously a lot of different people involved, people potentially on completely different time zones, and it's finding that time that you can meet, um, when it's going to be appropriate. If somebody's put onto JD, not so much now because obviously with the DOC stuff, but obviously
Yeah.
in 3.0, people are going on JD and insta sleep, and they're bait to hear from you. Majority of the time, they wouldn't even telegram a lawyer. Um, Not all of them, but there's a few of them that would. But because there was no interaction over there, there was no impetus for them to wake up.
Yeah.
Whereas now that we've got the DOC, it at least give them some interaction over there, give them some things to do. So what would usually happen is you get put on JD. OIC tickets made just for organising stuff.
Because of time zones and
Because of time, nothing discussed about the case or anything like that. That's all done in character. It's just for timing. And then usually,
sorry. So you're saying there's no back and forth like in a ticket. It's more.
no, 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 no.
Oh, okay.
It's literally, are you going to be awake then? What day's best for you? That sort of thing. A personal thing, just to make sure nobody's wasting their time going over to Cisco,
Yeah.
or they're sat there waiting for days on end to hear something. The system works well. It's good. So I would then go over there, have their arraignment, explain any questions for case, this, that, and the other. Now the arraignment is basically seeing how they plead initially. Let's say guilty, not guilty, or not making a plea at this time. They can choose to speak to a lawyer beforehand if they've got one. They can choose not to make a plea until they've spoken to a lawyer. Um, but that would just be the initial touching base, and those pleas can be changed later. Let's say, straightforward one, let's say somebody pleads guilty, we can then move straight to the judge for a sentencing hearing, or I can give them a plea agreement if it's not as severe as to warrant going before the judge. But that would all very much depend on what crimes are committed.
Let's just go for like the top of the food chain, like just straight murder, right? Because then we're going to go through the whole process.
They'd be going if they pled guilty, they'd be going to the judge for sentencing. If they pled not guilty, at that point I would start making a case with all the evidence, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Going through that would obviously be given to their defence attorney as well. They would be able to see if they've got a case. They might then change their plea after their defence lawyers had a look at all the evidence.
Yeah, they've been told to wise up. You know, you're going. Yeah.
Yeah, or they might take it to court and have their argument, and then a court date would be set. That would again have to all be organised, because there's a hell of a lot of people that get involved in that. Obviously myself, the lawyers, the judges, the defendants. Then you've got the judicial security team, which is part of all WSO, ESO, and the medical office. And then if there's other people there to witness, other things like that, judicial clerk's going to be there as well. Area might need to be cleared out. There might be
threats in the horizon.
Threats there, other players there. You just don't know. You've got to be sort of prepared for a little bit of anything and everything, really. But where we've had the courts in the past, they've been well set up. There's been some good places. We see Blackwater, O'Crae's Run, and then the old Marshall HQ. And some fond memories of each of them.
Yeah.
for different reasons, of course.
So whenever so you go through all this here, and it's all in character apart from scheduling. Say we get to the end of the road. This character has been found guilty, right, of murder, multiple murders. The person's decision to be executed, is that sort of I don't want my character to be executed? Or is that like, the staff step in and say, look, this character's murdered X amount of people? What's are you involved in that? Like what's
that's not a me decision. When it comes to, I've experienced and seen a lot of different ones. Now I've seen people who have got to that point and are like, it's a throwaway character, sentence however you want.
Yeah.
Or I've seen it's a secondary character, using it for a storyline. The character was there to be permed. To hey, it's not my time. And to people who are like, fuck no, what have I done? Now, ultimately, the final say is staff.
Yeah.
And it is, if it makes sense in character, like you say, if somebody's been charged with X amount of murders before, and they got another one here, or torturing and this, that, and the other, it comes to a point where it's like, you don't want to lose your character, okay, but you've done this, and this.
Yeah, there's no more punishment that we can give you apart from killing you, that we're going to make you change your ways, or whatever.
And this is the thing, and it's with 4.0 and being more serious than what we were, obviously majority whitelisted. That, by the way, has been a major step up in RP. Across the server, and the level of the RP's gone right up from what it was. But that's another point. I digress. But yeah, I mean, this is people taking accountability for their actions,
Yeah,
and I think we'll see that a lot more. Where people go, yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, it's the end of the line. Um, and the latest ones with Tommy Walker and Johnny Thurman, and their storylines absolutely superb.
oh, this
Compared,
was the breakout of prison, and yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, Now, initially, I was like, "What the fuck? If we had a judge, this wouldn't have happened." But I
Is this,
know,
sorry, is this in character, Pumpkin, or is this so?
touch both.
It's a joke.
But
Fucking
look,
judges.
I it made sense.
Yeah,
You know, I wouldn't I wouldn't have wanted anything to have changed. The way it played out and giving them a chance at going on the run for their characters and trying to save their lives and knowing if they got caught, they were fucked.
yeah,
Fair play to them. Fair play to them. And I think that was a real nice end to their story for them. Because, again, the crimes that they had committed, and again, in character, it would have made sense for them to be pumped.
yeah.
But then, as I say, getting the opportunity with the breakout and stuff like that, amazing. Again, it's just another little thing that I definitely didn't see coming, and I'm sure a lot of other people didn't. So yeah, bravo on whoever cooked that idea up.
Yeah, it was good from what I heard in character and seen on stream. You know, I do like. Here's the thing. I think with like perma, whether it's through the legal course, right? Like for example, if you sign up to be a doctor or a lawyer, or law, and you fuck up, like your character has a perma clause built in, whether you want it or not, right? But I think on the criminal side of things, you like I think cannibalism. I think if your character's a cannibal and you're getting caught for like fucking chewing Raylan's fucking leg, that escaping prison whenever you're on there in JD for. I think if you're willing to take those risks, your character has an end goal, and that is eventually getting caught, or getting caught for like certain crime.
Yeah,
It should be like common sense built in that like this is the path your character's going down, whether you want it or not. If you get caught for this crime, you're fucked.
yeah, yeah. It's there's an end date. I mean, if the story was right and it had the right build up, etc., etc., I'd perm a pumpkin tomorrow, no hesitations. But it would have to be right.
Yeah,
It would have to make sense. And Pumpkin's got a lot more legs left in him yet, so
yeah.
yeah, it won't be happening
Oh,
anytime soon.
he's a slim boy in 4.0. He could easily run for quite a bit nowadays.
Yeah, he's slimmed down now. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, yeah, but that's it. I mean, if the right thing was there and it made sense, yeah, I'm not going to hold on to a character.
Yeah.
I'll start up another one.
And then just as a matter of interest, there does Pumpkin have any perma conditions?
No, no,
No.
because being in the position that I am, it's it could throw up hell of a lot of stuff, and you never know what's round the corner. And however, whatever permanent conditions are set, it literally be whatever.
Yeah.
And so I mean, there's no storyline at the moment that would create it for me. So
I'm gonna
as I said,
just hold for a wee second. Hold on.
yeah,
Just gotta fix some audio. 1 second. Sorry, go ahead, Pumpkin. This should be fixed now. Chat will let me know.
Hello, hello.
Uh,
What is it? You have to restart your TeamSpeak, did you?
oh, it's like audio things. We're all good now. Go ahead. Sorry, you were saying.
Where was I?
Just talking about like you're in, you wouldn't permanent no permanent conditions and
Yeah. As I say, if it makes sense and the storyline's there, I'm up for it, for sure. But literally every day is a different story. Every day is different telegrams, or it might be a land deed or a wedding or a name change. It might be a completely quiet day, or it might be, oh, you need it over in Siska, or there's an execution down in Blackwater, or it could literally really vary.
yeah.
So
And your position that you literally you're almost like the Eye of Sauron, right? You see everything, right?
I see a lot. I see a lot. I hear a lot. But again, that's nature of the position that I'm in. I talk to all sorts of people,
Yeah.
and I hear a lot of stuff, and people want to tell me about stuff, and people want my opinion on things, and my character's there. My character is that open ear for people to listen to, and because I'm not abrasive or intimidating, people don't. They relax, so they talk freely, and whether that's a lawman, a doctor, a criminal, it they talk. So and I listen. I pick things up really well. So yeah, I mean that goes back to what I was saying about me sitting on the edge of a lot of storylines,
Yeah.
and I see a lot.
Has there been okay? Let's do this here. 3.0. What was your best sort of like storyline you were a part of, or like your best case, or the one that like what's your 3.0 memory from like the legal side of things that top of the food chain for you?
Um, Two cases really stand out. Um, Now, first one is the Elijah Wolf case because it was my first um, big case that I had to defend in court.
What was the give us the like the
Oh,
TLDR of
7 corruption charges and battery, and yeah, a wild case that was. Yeah, first time I'd ever sort of done that sort of RP in front of a judge, courtroom, etc. And it was intimidating. It was, as I say, big case. Um, Eddie Masters, who was the DA and the prosecutor and the person I was going up against, great help during that time. He was real support for me during that sort of process. And yeah, that was sort of the one that sort of got me into it. If that, I lost that case and the dude got executed, but
shh, you don't talk about losses, Pumpkin. Come on.
but the case itself and how it went obviously could have been better. It would be different if I'd done it today. But
Did you go into that?
was
Did you go into that knowing that you were gonna lose and this guy was gonna get fucking?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Now I prepared for it as best I could at that time, knowing what I knew at that time and how I thought things were seen. Um, as I say, if I'd done it today, I'd do it a hell of a lot differently. But
Do you think you would have won today? That's the question.
no.
Oh, okay. So it was a lose no matter what, right?
I mean, here's the thing with that particular case. As a defence, I had to win every single case, each of the 7 corruptions. Whereas for him to get executed. The prosecution only needed to prove one. Now, in the grander scheme of things, I might have won 2, maybe 3 of the points, even 4. I don't think it was 4. It was probably 2 or 3, but that still wasn't enough. So yeah, that was a real eye opener. For the second one, and for different reasons, was the Ravens case, because that was my first big case as the DA, and it was a fun case. It was really in depth. I had to do a lot of investigations. Had to get a lot of reports. During that one, Marshall's office, Virgil, Delilah, Nala, all massive helps during that one.
This is the one where this is the one with like the extreme anarchy and
G had been set to execution.
That's what it was.
And they went and broke him out. And great storyline. Great. Them risking it all for their friend, and loved that. And then the way it played out with their capture and how they'd done it with 2 split groups, and the excuses or stories that they had given as their cover stories, which I had to break down. And Virgil having them up at Marshall HQ with a Gatling wagon.
That's right. Yeah.
That was eye-opening for me, because I never had seen a Gatling wagon in.
I don't think many people have, no.
In that, and then seeing that, and tensions were high, it was emotional, and everybody played their part, and amazing. Virgil was top tier that day, real fucking good. And then as that storyline played out and got to its conclusion, and them having their day in court, which was in Cisco again, that was with Judge Tate. But yeah, there was a lot of extra investigations and stuff to prove their guilt in that one. Subpoenas and warrants and all sort of stuff. But yeah, that was fun.
And then, what are the things that? So we talk about like lawyers in defense, but how big of a role does like law play with their own reports into your job? Like, do you ever
massive?
Do you ever get like a report and you just think, what fucking glue has this person fucking eaten before they've written this?
Not so much lately, especially, and previous in 3.0.
By the way, not that I'm saying that law eats glue, but there's a few guys out there. Come on now.
No, I know what you're getting at. I know there's a few that were specifically picked for my training files for paralegals, where we go through parts of these reports as part of training.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're from a long while ago, but there's specifically a few real bad ones in there. And
any examples that you can leak? Just pretend you're RPing as Mafia and just leak shit away.
No, I can't do that. But there was a few real bad ones, and when I was a defence attorney, I was getting a fair few cases thrown out just because of bad reports.
From the bad reports from the law side of things, yeah?
Yeah. And I was able to do that, and even since my time as a DA, let's say the reporting's got a hell of a lot better. So props to them and all their training and stuff, because there have been a few times I've had to go and have a word with people and say that's not good enough. Or if a report's brought to me and somebody's contested a charge, And if it's not good enough, or it's lacking probable cause or clear evidence or whatever it may be that's needed for the charges to stick, I'll throw the case out. Oh,
And
you
then
know,
do you then like reprimand law, or do you tell like their superiors, look,
yeah,
you
it's
know,
it's
this
it's not.
Cassie girl who's like in Wesso, she needs to like, you know,
Oh yeah, that Cassie girl,
yeah.
her reports. Oh yeah. No,
But does
but
does
I mean,
Pumpkin then lean on the law to be like, look, I could have won this if, or
yeah, I mean, with that, it's again, it reverts back to Pumpkin's facts, not feelings. I'll go in, I'll say, this is a bad report, I'm going to have to throw it out, blah, blah, blah. If it's something that can be solved just by getting an extra statement off of somebody or something like that, I'll go and get the extra statements because that's part of my job. But if it's real bad, there's no extra anything that you can add to it. I say to them, that's getting thrown out because of this, blah, blah, blah. Have a word with them. They need to be able to prove this, they need to be able to prove that, get them to rewrite things. Or when they write a report, make sure it includes the appropriate stuff. I don't tend to lean into people hard and reprimand them, because I don't need to. I just need to say, up your game, son.
yeah, fucking sort your shit out, boy.
Yeah, because me coming down hard on them and this, that, and the it's just not.
Productive.
It's not. Yeah, it's not Pumpkin's character. Um, it's not his in him to be a hard ass in those situations because ultimately he knows that he'll get a better report by telling somebody where they've gone wrong
Yeah. Is
rather than hey, you fucked up, do better.
Yeah. Is there anything that you wish that law did do differently when it came to like information gathering, or just the way they deal with your office?
No, I when it comes to that sort of thing, they can run their ship how they want to run their ship. When it comes to investigations and stuff like that, that's not that. That's not my office.
Yeah.
They get down and they can do their things.
Now, I'm gonna put you on the spot. If you had to pick between Wesso and ESO, who's the better? And you can't say no. You can't dodge this one, Pumpkin. Who's better so far in your eyes with like the reporting and stuff?
Reports, there's no splitting between them.
Ah,
To be
Pumpkin.
honest, no, there's really not, because if you was looking through, you could probably find as equal good ones as bad ones. So yeah, there's no doing with that one.
What about the marshals? The marshals have got to be lazy though, right?
No, Marshall's grand.
The
Marshall's
man's not
grand.
breaking. The man's not breaking. Okay.
Um, yeah, again, because of the position that I'm in, I have a lot of interactions with the marshals, and sometimes I get to see a side of them that the regular players wouldn't necessarily see.
Yeah.
They see them doing their martial role or coming down hard on a criminal or doing whatever they need to be doing in their character. Sometimes, I'm in positions where I see them and it's a bit more, how was your day? What you been up to? Off out
Yeah.
fishing? That, the normal people's side of their character, and yeah, some of that's really interesting as well. I love those interactions.
And I guess the other side of the coin there is there anything you wish that like criminals did differently when they're coming into like the DA, the court side of things, or you know,
Honestly, the one thing that was real, not lacking, but the thing that I really wanted to see was me go over to Siska, speak to somebody, and them be the ultimate truer part of their character. If they're these big bad criminals that have done this and done that, they put their hand up and go, yeah, I
Yeah.
done that,
Yeah.
and
You got me. You got me. Yeah.
they kept that same energy. Because I'm not all the time, um, but there was a few characters where I'd seen them in Sissika, for JD or whatever, and it was oh yeah, so I'm sorry, yeah, oh yeah. I know there was some great interactions I had over there. Ravens, the
I,
Vandals,
I was going to say the Vandals near the end there, whenever they were button heads with Virgil, and yeah,
they played that perfect, because they really thought the end was coming for all of them, and they played that perfect. They didn't know if they was getting out or not, or if some of them were getting them out and some of them weren't. So them playing how they played that was great, like really good. But the ones that I mean are the big baddies outside. Don't take no shit from anyone.
yeah.
Shoot first, ask questions later, sort of people.
I guess the pen is
And
mightier than the sword, right? At the end of the day, whenever Pumpkin comes in swinging his fucking book.
yeah, I can have a lot of say when it comes to that side of things, but uh, when it comes to, I like to be fair. I like to give what what I can give them the best chance of an outcome,
Yeah.
rather than, like I say, being that hard ass of I'm going to kill you all. So I like to, when I look at a case, I'll look at it, and the first time I read through it, I'll say, how are they getting out of this? How are they getting off this? I'll look for a way to keep them alive, and then everything else sort of falls from there. But it's
So just stick to their character and not bow their heads and
yeah,
say I'm sorry. Yeah.
yeah,
And then what about Civ? So we talked about this in one of the first episodes with Crim versus Law. Um, is, I've always said that I wish that Civs were more Civ-like and snitched to Law or give Law information. Do you find that that's still like lacking? Like if I play a Civ character and I go speak to Law or it goes to court, and do you think that Civs are still holding back with that sort of?
yeah. I think it's got a lot better, but that goes hand in hand with the way businesses have been put more at risk.
Yeah,
Now, are they all forthcoming like you would think in a picturesque world they would be? No, but it creates interesting dynamics. So you'll find some businesses that do come forward or are owned by people in relationships with law, or know people in law, or medical office, or whatever it may be. And they are more inclined to come forward. They do speak a bit freer to law, but then there are going to be places that don't, and there are going to be places that have a little bit more of a secretive access. But compared to 3.0, it's night and day.
and then comparing 3.0 to 4.0 overall, like, are you enjoying the pace of 4 compared to 3 from your department's point of view? How are you finding like the quality of RP itself from 3 to 4? You know, what's your general thoughts?
The RP itself is, yeah, really good. The step up that has happened to that, and the seriousness of which people are taking it, um, and the stories that people are wanting to create, and I think that's the biggest difference I've seen is 3.0. It seemed like people were waking up, doing their daily chores, meeting up with their friends, maybe doing whatever their group was doing, but there was less storylines.
Yeah.
I think now there's more people interested in stories and telling their story, or being part of a group story, and seeing what conflicting storylines we can have, and
Yeah.
that's been really good to watch. Really, really good. It creates a lot more slow burn, different dynamics within conflict. Are people going to be more shooty bang bang over things that actually matter,
Yeah.
rather than for the sake of shooting? And yeah, I mean, for me, it's been really, really good. I think any server, you're always going to end up with a few people that need to catch up with the crowd, or
Yeah.
or just don't belong, full stop. But they end up with the base population being what it is.
They get pushed out. They get eventually
Yeah,
sideswept. Yeah.
yeah. Well, they either get pushed up or they get pulled in. If their intentions are right. Because that's the thing. It doesn't matter if you're not an experienced role player, or if you're afraid to try things and you're a little bit more just want to see how it goes. As long as you're in it for the right things, people will help, and that's never changed. In 3.0, it was the same. You saw new people come into the server, and the ones that were there for the right intentions,
Yeah.
they got helped out.
You either stick out for the right reasons or the wrong reasons.
Yeah. Couldn't have said it better.
And then let's say Mafia does a crazy amount of cocaine and 5.0 is releasing tomorrow, right? Pumpkin can't be played. You've got to make a new character. Would you still head down the path you're currently on, or would you go Civ, Law, Crim? Like, what do you think you would do if Pumpkin got wiped today?
Um,
Or is that a scary thought?
Honestly, I would probably have that conversation with a few different people. Simply for the fact of I like my job role, I like the responsibility. If they would like to see somebody else in it, and pass the reins over to somebody else, I'll be happy for them to do that. I would probably play the character a little bit differently.
Would you change?
I would probably go for the harder side of things.
Pumpkin Unleashed.
Yeah,
Full potential.
Be a bit of a dick, to be honest, because I've got it in me. Yeah, I know. But that would be possible if they wanted somebody else to take over the reins or give it a go. I'd potentially be interested in opening up a business.
Right. Okay.
Now, I like the horse breeding script, and I like being around the horses in the server. So I might get into something like that. Yeah, or maybe a tobacco shop. Go back to my roots with farming.
I know. I sort of want to see Angry Pumpkin now. That's on my mind. Maybe with like whatever comes in 4.0, some of the harder drugs. Maybe Pumpkin gets addicted to something and just unleashes.
Yeah, I mean, here's the other thing as well. I'd never say never to having a Crim character. And
Stop teasing me now.
Well, the thing with that is if I've always thought about how I would play a Crim character, and I would probably go for the more simpleton-like character, to be honest.
Oh God,
And
another Trudy.
just wind it all back and just don't know fuck all. Totally simple, easily led, easily manipulated. Do anything for anyone, quite literally.
Here's $5. Go rob that lawman.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that sort of thing.
Yeah, like, those characters are fun, so they are.
Yeah. So it would either have to be that, or I would go the harder side of things. Carter's twin or something, but all the air on top and nothing on the face.
Is there, if you could, this is something that we talk about a couple of times. If you had Simmons, right, for he's locked in your basement. Is there anything that you would want in the server from like the
Courthouse in Saint Denis.
Courthouse? Oh, there you go. There you go.
That's it. I mean,
is that because Blackwater has become the new Valentine, and you just every time you go down there, you can't see anybody because of dust? And...
Yeah, I mean that for one. I now look if that's in Saint Denis, I'm sure that'll come with its own issues. So whatever. But yeah, if I had my wish list, it would literally be two things: a courthouse in the east. As I say, the Saint Denis building's there, but it might come with its own issues.
Is that the one beside the telegram office, the newspaper?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Opposite the bank. But yeah, there's already a lot of stuff there, so it might end up creating more issues if something was put in there or whatever. But if I had my dream wish list, in the east at least, as I say, because Blackwater has got the one down there, and yeah, second one. Keys to the sheriff's office. That'd be nice. I can go and use their desk upstairs, then. But yeah, I know that'd probably be it.
Is there anything like mechanical though that you would like? Like it's hard to describe. Like we always say from the Crim side of things, like minor things like pickpocketing, or is there anything that you just like, not script wise, but like something to facilitate more RP outside of like the actual physical building?
I think for the good thing about the DOJ and the lawyering side of things, it's all people driven RP.
Yeah, true.
That there is paperwork to do. There's a lot of paperwork. But that's only because I choose to make it like that. You've always got reports to read, things to do. So from that side of things, that's on me. There's nothing that can be done within the server to help that. It's not going to make it any less. And yeah, the people, the conversations, the stories. There's not any mechanics that could potentially help that.
Yeah, add to it. Yeah.
Outside of maybe the electric chair.
The people of the slums in Saint D, they wanna smell some of that bacon frying.
Yeah, little bit of
right across from the bakery. Get yourself
organic. I was going to say organic fat to put in the pastry over at the bakery.
Yeah. Get yourself some buns and some motherfucker get volts through his head. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but that's for my own curiosity rather than a necessity. I think having the hanging script in for 4.0 is...
It's very good, yeah.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. I think giving the option of the hanging or a firing squad as well. Let's say it gives people another.
I will say this, and this is me, in character calling out the whoever sets up the gallows. If they're not breaking the neck straight away, that's a bad hanging. Just making them choke themselves out. That's a bad one right there. About to blame Nala or something like that. They're one of the marshals for not setting up the rope right.
We're just gonna have to make the rope shorter for you because you're so bloody tall.
Wait, you could plan to hang my character anytime soon?
Not today. You're safe.
Okay.
You're safe, yeah.
So, chat. If you guys have any questions for Pumpkin, just in general, just or myself, just ask. Right. AP says earlier on, any standout sort of dumb, funny sort of like lawyer courtroom sort of like questions, answers that stick out to you?
Oh, okay. Not so much questions, but there was a character by the name of Sue Brown. Hands down, the funniest courtroom experience.
I think this name rings a bell. Was she something?
No, it was a he.
Oh, that's right. Yes,
he was one of the cannibals who ate a warden. He ate a game warden. Went down to Valentine, covered in blood. Nala, what you've been up to, sort of thing. Blah blah blah, and he just pulls out this heart, like a human heart.
Yeah.
In character, of course, and then he's got a bag of boiled toes.
lovely, yeah, popcorn.
Yeah, brilliant. And it got to court, and he chose to represent himself, which was fine. But his character.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. Yeah.
Couldn't understand a word, but it was just so funny. And then Nala during it was like, well, I can kind of make out what he's saying, and it was like she had to sort of interpret some of it. And then for his closing statement, we had to have LJ, the marshal, when he was the marshal, read out his closing statement, because then it could be understood by everybody straight off.
Yeah.
And the first thing that comes out of his mouth was, everybody just broke. Everybody broke. They might well have had their push to talk on, but behind their mic, they broke. it was hilarious. Yeah, really good that one was. Another memorable one was Doc Jones. He was one of the BJs.
Oh, fuck, right.
And he was in for a list of stuff.
The BJ's in for a list of stuff? Say it in so.
Yeah, and, he had a shit ton of fines as well. And I've basically, I can't remember, but it was a high amount that he was going to have to pay if he got out. And he was talking to me, he was fine. And again, LJ was there. And because they had their dealings outside of Cisco, they ended up getting in a back and forth. Just verbal. And then we went and got some food from the little chow hall where it was in Cisco.
Yeah.
Came out, and as LJ came out, Doc tackled him. And Doc tackled him, tried to strangle him, and he ended up getting shot by the other marshals. I think it was Jay that was there. And permit on the spot. I was like, whoa, okay. That was the first one of those I'd seen. That was quite fun.
Oh, the first perma, yeah.
Well, not the first perma, but in that circumstance, in that situation, it was, while I was going over to do their arraignment, explain the case, they attacked a marshal, got shot over it and permit. A double-edged sword, that one, because I would have liked to have seen it through with the paperwork and all that side of things. So I did kind of cut it a bit short.
Yeah.
But pretty cool how he done it, to be fair.
Well, literally out with a bang, right?
Yeah, literally that. Went out with a bang. So fair play on him on that one, I guess. But I didn't see it coming either because me and him, when I was talking to him, it was the yeah, no, okay,
head bowed,
um,
yeah.
yeah, and then as I say, him and LJ had a little verbal disagreement, and didn't think nothing of it. Oh, all right, we'll get our food. We'll be in touch and let you know. And bang, yeah.
Uh, do you or pumpkins, or sorry, do you or lawyers prefer bigger cases only, or do you like some of the smaller stuff as well?
I like a bit of everything. I like variety is spice of life, and the more I can be involved in, is good for me. Um, just because I'm nosy.
Yeah.
Um,
Is there any
but
is there any crimes that are going on that's like people need to calm down on? You think, or it's just too like
not from what I've seen. Law might give you a different response, but I'm not getting overly involved with the stuff, perhaps like I was doing in 3.0. Um, but it means more things are being brought to me
yeah,
rather than me going after it. So again, law might well tell you differently, but I think things will always come in fits and starts. Some things will be popular, some things won't. But I think that would usually fluctuate depending on the server, whether there's a new mechanic, whether there's a new script, whether there's something more interesting and new. Like with the moonshine stuff, obviously there was none of it because it wasn't in the server for a couple of months, and then it's there, so there'd be an uptake in that, and that'd be flavour of the month for however long.
well, I
Um,
guess this new thing that we're going to see also is the DOJ's like if you get caught, you will work off your fine in Sisika, right? That's going to be the new shake-up from your side of things, right?
Marvelous. Well, welcome to a world without fine books. At the end of the day,
Well,
it's
fine booking was always a touchy subject in 3.0, right?
yeah. And look, I mean, did they make sense, realism and realistic wise? No, but
Look, I
did they serve as a
yeah,
mechanic that was necessary to hold people accountable? Yeah, it was. Were we able to catch everybody and make them pay their fines even with the use of a fine book? Fuck no.
yeah.
Like,
I do remember though. Someone got fined like a couple of $1,000, right? And like they were a pretty new character. Now, yes, they shouldn't have been doing what they were doing, but like that person just stopped playing that character because you can't buy anything. You can't.
yeah. I mean,
It
things
mechanically fucked you.
with fine books and the way they worked, for somebody to get a $1,500 fine, they fucked up bad.
Yeah,
That's not just
one
oh,
off.
I was grave digging. You've done a few fucked up things for that, and to get fine books as well. Again, for that, even in 3.0, for it to get to that, I mean, the fine book wasn't thrown around like, oh, okay, fine, yeah, cool, fine book, okay, fine book. You know, you can only do it under very specific circumstances,
Yeah.
um, and it could only be approved by certain people. So, with regards to that, again, it was if it's a new player and they need, they've been fine. They're
Yeah, they've dropped the ball. Yeah.
they're well, either that or they're not that new, and
Yeah.
they've done a lot more than I've just done this and they slapped me with. Like no, no, no. I've yeah, I mean I've seen a hell of a lot of fucking reports, and especially during 3.0, and the amount of people that picked up a $1,500 fine or more, it's because they've done a lot of
A
shit.
lot of them. Yeah. Frag says, any cases where the outcome actually surprised you from the judge's point? I'm guessing from like the judge's point of view.
Yes.
Is it Dooley? Because
No, I look. Dooley was a victim of his own success.
yeah,
He played his character as this crazed individual. Really wasn't right. Definitely a few sandwiches short of, and he played it because of this metal plate in his head that moved, and the storyline couldn't fault it. The excuses he gave, the medical that was there to back it up, no issues whatsoever. But because of all of that
yeah,
stuff, and because of what he had done, and he was a danger to society, and he very much played that character.
yeah,
And in in character, I OOC I don't like, well, especially during 3.0 when there wasn't any DOC. I hated anybody spending an excessive amount of time in
yeah, yeah.
because that hinders their RP.
Sisika was just a timeout. It was just timeout, you know. And even then, you could be out in 20 minutes.
And so I'd always try and move things along as quickly as I could. With Dooley, he made it so that he was a danger to society. So I had to try and do whatever I could to sort of accommodate medical RP for him.
Yeah.
And the doctor's done fantastic with all of that as well, because they gave him the scenes and they gave him time, and yeah, amazing from their side of things. And then the extra lawyer RP around that as well. That was Elizabeth was dealing with him, and then the family side, Harper went over to visit, and yeah, I know that was it was a great storyline. But he was in there because he
Yeah, yeah,
he played it too well.
yeah.
He didn't give me any.
He should have been in a
really.
padded cell, basically.
Yeah, yeah. The outcome for his could have gone either way, but I think it was fair what he got.
Do you think? Do you think?
Character and IOC as
Yeah.
well.
Do you think if that was the story in 4.0, he'd be fucking hanging from a rope, or over there locked up permanently?
If he played it like he did, he'd probably get the same treatment. The end result might have been a bit different because we've got the DOC over there. It might have been an extra extended stay, but that could have gone either way. To be perfectly honest with it.
Interesting. Any other cases that you think, oh, I thought that guy would have got away with that, or not got away with that?
The freshest one to memory is LJ's one with the regulators, where he had was it Tommy?
Tommy, and yeah.
Tommy executed. As with the other two, obviously one of them couldn't make it, but with the other one pleading guilty, him then pleading not guilty and trying to use self-defense was the wrong way of going about it anyway.
Yeah.
But I think it was more the fact of you couldn't class that their actions and what they'd done as second-degree murder. So it got classed as first.
Yeah.
And with that then comes, if it's first degree murder, you're kind of looking at, or you should be looking at,
yes,
ending it.
Ending it, yeah.
But I wasn't expecting it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And then also, there was a 3-for-1 special on Permers that night as well.
Oh yeah, and again that was suicidal on their part because
Yeah.
how two of them were. Yeah, I
Look,
don't know.
yeah. My character knew of Doodle. The guy who got executed, never met him in character, but my lasting memory is I think either Nala or Delilah was streaming, and Kara, who's Tig there, was running away and just got elephant rifled in the back and just disintegrated. It was cinema. So it was
Oof, big oof.
yeah
Um, but yeah, I mean, hey, again, that was a great end to a storyline.
yeah
Um, you know, as I say, I was a bit shocked at the result because here's the thing with the judges, I I don't know what their decision is going to be. I've never known what their decision is going to be. Um, what I will do is put forward suggestions. Um, so again, if it's first degree, this, that, and the other, my suggestion would be execution or life imprisonment in Cisco. If it's something lower down the line, I'd say, hey, what about this stipulation, that stipulation? Write up some paperwork for it. That doesn't mean it's taken. It might be, it might not. They might take something out of there, they might not. Ultimately, it's always down to the judge.
yeah.
Um, so, as I say, sometimes they're a bit more clear cut than others. Um, Sometimes, depending on their history or whatever, you're not really gonna know. Um, and with 4.0 and everything, and everybody taking everything a little bit more seriously and accountability and all that sort of stuff, I think it'll be. I think you'll see a lot more people going. Yeah, I kind of fucked up here,
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
and willing to go. Yeah, 07's in chat.
Frag says, "Is there?" Oh, I suppose this is something I was sort of going to ask as well. Is there anything criminal wise or legal wise, or like a charge that you haven't seen yet that you would like to see down the line that you think someone should play into, or something that's not the norm? Torture. Eating lawman's right legs.
Yeah, got the stickers for those ones.
Yeah. Is there any rare Pokemon that you haven't collected yet that you think I wouldn't mind someone doing like?
Here's the thing with most JDs and all that side of things, if not all of them, I've in one shape or another been through them. Now, all the stories different, and how they get to that point is that's always the fun part for me. Um, Piecing together stories, how this, why this has happened, then speaking to people and saying, what happened here, what happened there, and trying to get listening to how people have got there, reading about, why they did this. They're the interesting parts, and that's what I like seeing every day because it's always different. And sometimes some people are more inventive than others. Some people are better at telling stories than others. Um, but it's good to see. I couldn't specifically say, oh yeah, I want to do this, or I want to see that, because
Even if it's the same
it,
thing
it, it,
10 times, you got there 10 different
it's
ways.
always, yeah, it's always going to be different.
Yeah.
I can tell you, yeah, cool. I've seen the extreme anarchy charge where it was just the 7 and, get plea agreement thrown out, whatever. And then I've seen the extreme anarchy charge, which was in nearly 30 crimes, and they were very much looking at getting executed. But they're in, again, it's the same charge, but varying different stories behind it.
Any advice to give Crims or anyone on making legal defense side more interesting? Make the paperwork more fun to write or read?
Just do what you're doing. Um, Truthful storylines are always good, um, because when you have to say, "Well, your storyline really don't match up. You're talking a load of shit,"
Yeah.
it kind of deflates the whole thing. Um, so yeah, having good storylines, good reasonings. From my side of things, I like reading good books. I like seeing good stories. I like people being able to tell them well. Um, so it's just good to be able to see the different things that come across. As I say, with regards to actual pointers, yeah, just do you.
I think one thing that
Always have,
I would probably say, like, write the way your character would be, right? Like
yeah,
your character who could be like semi dumb as fuck, or one of the like one of the hillbillies or something like that. There shouldn't be writing like PhD level, you know.
telegrams to the
Yeah,
doctor's office. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's it. I mean, justification. If you can justify why you're doing certain actions, even if it's in your own head as to why your character would be doing this, does it make sense for your character to be doing that? Sticking true to what you're trying to portray. Um, that's what makes a good solid story.
sounds good. Right, short one. It's going to be like an hour and a half or 2 hours in. Pumpkin, any questions you want to ask or anything you want to talk about or promote, self deprecate, plead the fifth? When did plead the fifth come in? We can't plead the fifth, right? In 1899, can we?
It's not our fifth constitution that
Fuck.
we've got in counting
Ah,
though.
okay.
Don't ask me what it is because I'd have to pull it up. but no,
You're telling
it's
me the
not that.
DA doesn't know the law inside out? That's disgraceful.
No, but I do walk around with it in my notebook. But no, I mean we've gone for a hell of a lot. I've rambled on.
Yeah.
Um, Question wise, uh, I know more than I'm letting on. I always know more. like like you said, Sauron's that all seeing eye.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean a lot of anything, as we always say, is find out in character.
Yeah. That's the bottom line, right?
Yeah, I mean that's it. I mean things like this. Marvelous picking it back up, by the way. Gives a platform, for voices to be heard and opinions to be shared, and answers to questions that you wouldn't necessarily get.
Just shows the other side of the person.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
All right. Well, look, Pumpkin, we'll leave it there. Guys, thank you as always for watching or listening. We have two natives finally. We've only been trying to find natives for, well, since we started this. So native podcast at some point. Mafia Simmons still on the cards. Civ business owners. DOC. It'll all get picked up again in some way, shape, or form. But guys, if you want to be a lawyer, go see Pumpkin. Find out the rest in character.